So I was 28, 29, I was a single mom, and I didn't fall in love with anybody except Kent, and I couldn't have him. So Jerry came along, and he's almost 20 years older than me, but he was really sweet to my daughter, and he made me feel really comfortable. I said I had bipolar, and he said, that's fine. So I thought he knew what it meant. But, as I got to know him, he took me out and he showed me he owned a house because I own that house and I have a boat. And so I felt like, well, financially, maybe we could be partners. And so we had sex, and I got pregnant after we were engaged. He went shopping with me with this engagement ring with my daughter, my oldest daughter, and he forgot to tell me he was still married. He had told me he was divorced, so I went into this thing precluding that he was available, but he wasn't, not really. And I did find out later on that he was in really deep credit card debt, which I called all the people and got the payments down for him once we were engaged and I was pregnant. But, I had never dated anyone that ever lied to me before. I mean, it just seems so obvious that you're going to find out the truth. But he's kind of like an ostrich with his head in the sand. And so, I really lost a lot of hope. I was like, oh, I'm kind of stuck in this. And then something happened with my dad, and they all blew up, and Jerry said my dad wanted me to have an abortion. So I said, I was 4 months pregnant. My daughter was looking forward to having a little brother. So I went out west to think and maybe stay out there. I wasn't sure. I just knew I had to get away. And I taught kindergarten. We did fine. Hillary, I got her in school. She had a great teacher, second grade teacher. But then Jerry decided he wanted to get married, so I made him get married. That's when he told me he says, I have to get my divorce. So he couldn't marry me until he got his divorce, which that's not romantic like I had hoped. I'm a romantic at heart. But I did say, I'm not going to go all the way back to Virginia with you and not have the rights, health insurance, all the things that come with being married with children, because you're very vulnerable, especially me with my bipolar disorder. So anyway, things just progressed, and he had a real inability to have any intimacy because he was an alcoholic. I don't know why he drank. He wouldn't, I don't understand it. I took him to counseling, and I was like, you've got everything. I got pregnant. I was trying to work on the relationship with him, and I had sex with him. We got pregnant again, which was a miracle because I had an IUD in. And so as an adult, a young adult still, really not quite 30, I had hopes that we could get him better, that he could eventually, be honest and have a good, but he didn't. He never did. I took him to counseling. I had to separate. And he would do things like drive really, really fast in the car on the interstate, really close to another car like NASCAR, and I'd be white-knuckling it up front while my kids were in the back, and they had no idea what's going on. And I did go to a counselor with him in Winchester, and the counselor said he's dangerously passive-aggressive. So truly, that was a dangerous situation. Another thing he would do is come kiss my ear real hard behind me. And, I told him, I said, I had plastic surgery on my ears. That hurts. Please don't do that. But he would always do it. So that was kind of a sneaky way of being physically abusive. And then after my daughter was born, I was off my medication, of course. And I got a letter in the mail that he had co-signed a $30,000 loan. And we were struggling month to month to make our, with 3 kids and the house payment. It's not like we had a lot of money. So that freaked me out, and I tackled him, and I bit his ear. In front of the kids, I was always open with my stuff. He would do stuff like he held me up to the wall like he was going to strangle me in the bedroom. Not in front of the kids, though. He's very sneaky. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the kids knew how I felt. But we really did try. I think Jerry and I tried. I don't think he could do it for whatever reason. Maybe he didn't know what it was. Maybe he never was raised that way or what I expected. But it was a terrible divorce on my kids because of the money. We lost all of our animals and the horses. And we didn't have a lot of money invested in horses, but it was like a hobby that I could do with the kids. I had bought my son a miniature horse and my daughter a pony. But I think that was the toughest time for my kids, was during the divorce. And then, of course, my two kids afterwards, as teenagers, wanted to live with their dad. And they got in a lot of trouble for drugs and alcohol. And he was buying them those substances. And I went to court many times. But because my bipolar was so unstable, I couldn't really have custody of them. And so he had custody, even though he perjured himself in court. I guess they felt like putting him in foster care would be worse. But I think we've all come through it okay. You know, I think all my kids are doing pretty good. I just want them to know I tried as hard as I can to give them a good life that I could do. There were certain limitations on my personal health as bipolar and not getting the medicines right, and then also their father's disorder with alcohol. So, yeah, they were really good times. I mean, we traveled, we went to Disney. He was really good that way, like let's just take the kids and go. And so he was good that way. He just wasn't really a good partner because he was so passive aggressive. Instead of talking about it and trying to work through it, he would just not talk and be passive aggressive. And you know, my family, I came up with some dysfunction too, with my dad having bipolar, my mom having agoraphobia. So I didn't really know what a healthy marriage was. And I'm still working on that idea.